Hello and welcome to Open All R's, the QPR podcast. I'm David Fraser. How many of us are there tonight? There's 5 of us. 5 of us. We had 5 last week. So I'm David. Also with me are 2 of the other co-founders of the podcast. We have Chris Charles.
Hello.
From BT Sport.
Yes.
Copious notes.
I have. Well, last week I forgot what I was talking about in mid-sentence. So as I'm getting old, I have to have these things here just to remind me.
That's 3 pages of notes. Typeface 14, I would say.
Probably about 18, I think, because I haven't got my glasses either. So apart from that, I'm doing really well.
It's good, though. Better than my notes, which are... This is the crumple of my notes. Oh. They are literally written on the back of an envelope. So much more thorough you are, but then you are the journalist. So that's what you do for a living. Also, Paul Finney. Hello, Paul. No notes at all.
Surprise.
I wonder if that would surprise people.
Because I'm
that
dyslexic.
You podcast without notes.
To be fair, I do a damn sight better job than you do.
Well, let's open it up to the vote. Favourite or retweet?
Back of a fag packet notes as opposed to back of the head notes. Anyway, carry on.
And also to making their debut, we have Oliver Brett.
Hello.
Oliver, welcome on. Where do you sit at QPR?
I was in lower loft. I sit at Ellerslie. I'm just buying tickets as I go at the moment, but I think upper loft from now on.
Potentially the first person to ever have worn a replica shirt whilst doing the podcast.
Apart from all the kids
one.
Yeah.
Apart from the kids one.
That's insulting.
Is that true? Or is someone what? Maybe.
You're
I don't think it happens all that often. Yeah.
Well, you kind of don't need to because we all know we're QPR fans. But it's nice that you turned up.
I think it's great.
Turned up the horrible
I think he wants you to sign it, Paul.
No way we talk about dyslexia. Anyway, he's got the old badge on it. Out of interest, and this before you introduce the next guest, who actually liked that badge?
You're talking about the one with the feathers.
Braid Tories week.
No.
Okay.
This was a good shirt, though. What is it?
So you're wearing the Lotto AirAsia shirt.
It was the Ravel Morrison playoff promotion.
Right.
What is it? Wembley shirt.
Well, they got the thickness of the hoops correct, I would say.
I do like the long sleeves as well.
Very Stanley.
Yeah. It is Ravel Morrison-esque. It is the Ravel Morrison shirt.
And 4th guest, can I do a really unentertaining,
Please don't.
like in the middle of the podcast? Is Paul talking close enough to the microphone, Neil? We got it. We got a nod. Sorry, I know that's very boring for everyone, but we can't bother to go back and re-record, so I'll just ask out loud. Final guest is Noel Keating.
Evening, how are you?
Very good, Noel. Where do you sit in Loftus Road?
Well,
That's quite funny for you.
that is. So I've been twice in the last 2 years. I live in Brisbane.
You live in Brisbane.
So that excuse.
Last time I was here, I sat with Paul in South Africa Road, and I survived, and I came back.
That was a very good host, actually.
You were a great host. You looked after me, yeah.
Did you baby soda?
And on Friday, I sat in the R block, and it was fantastic. It was great. I went there specifically because that's where the noise comes from. So,
how much do you get to see of us out in Brisbane?
not a great deal, other than the sites run by Rangers.
Yeah.
That's it. If you subscribe to that, then great. Other than that, YouTube highlights, etc. But that's about it.
Has it been a difference having the live games?
It has, it has. The difficulty is that you have to get up at 2 a.m. to watch them. So,
of course,
not great. But the highlights packages, etc. You can watch all of that back. It's just not the same.
Yeah.
But being there.
So your typical match day routine is wake up, check how QPR got on.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, wake up the next morning. How'd you go?
We lost. It's usually.
to be fair, I was a bit like that G Block last season. If I'm being brutally honest with you.
Are you from Australia originally? Or
No.
No, I didn't think you were. Where
No.
are you from originally?
I actually grew up in Fulham.
Okay.
Funny enough. So I was talking to Paul about this earlier on. I was surrounded by Chelsea as I grew up.
Oh.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. So I'd come down to Rangers in the early 80s, be surrounded by Chelsea when we were playing them, and then I'd go home and be surrounded by Chelsea on the way home.
Lord, yeah.
So
remember
it was
those
really
days?
Good. Yeah.
Who are the English teams they tend to support in Brisbane?
It's the same everywhere you go. So it's the Man Uniteds and the Chelseas, and you see lots of Asian people walking around Brisbane with a Man United shirt on, and you wonder, what on earth are you doing? When are you ever going to go there? Have you ever actually been to England, Manchester, etc.? No different to anywhere else. But every now and again you see... I was driving down the road and saw a Brentford sticker the other day.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that was almost exactly what I said. Yeah.
Can you imagine like you pulled up the lights and said like you robbed us? You know what I mean? It'd probably go, huh?
Yeah. There's a few Spurs fans in Arsenal, but other than that, yeah, it's the real big sides, the international sides that you see.
Okay, so was welcome everyone, especially to the two lads who are on for the first time. Our beers are sponsored this week by Kieran Dowling, so thank you very much to Kieran.
Thanks, Kieran.
And if this is the first time, I do this every podcast. If this is the first time you've listened to us, you can listen to our old episodes at qprpod.co.uk, where you can also buy us beers like Kieran. Click on support the show. And if you have any other comments, please, which we had lots this week, which we'll be kind of going through as we go through the show, you can follow us on Twitter at QPRPod. Chris, let's jump into your copious notes and start with the reverse against Fulham on Friday
Out of
night.
interest, Chris, before we go on to your notes, have you got a programme with you as well?
Yes.
All right.
Do you want Paul to sign that?
All will become clear later.
That's the first person ever to turn up in a shirt and a programme at the same time.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Well,
Carry on.
there you
Welcome to the Loftcast.
Have you had Australian guests before?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, he had one, but he didn't speak.
Just a try.
No, he did.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Okay.
We've had guests from America and Australia, so we need to start going around the world. And Ireland, obviously, quite a few of them. So if you're from another country and you're in town and you support QPR, give us a shout and please.
We
do
had
come
Norwegian
on.
on as well.
We did?
We did.
We did. Go on, Chris.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think normally when you lose 2-1 to Fulham, you're pretty devastated, obviously, but it's strangely walking out of the ground not too unhappy because it was such a good game. I think the lads gave it their all. I mean, there were a few shortcomings, which I'm sure we'll get to later. Generally, couldn't fault the work ethic, and I know it was 2-1. It could have been 2-2. It could have been 3-3. If both sides had finished their chances, it could have been 7-7. We could have won it. It was just that really topsy-turvy sort of game. I think going up to the first goal, which was a horrendous fluke, then it's going miles wide. For it sadly got deflected off Robinson. I thought other than that, had a brilliant game, probably man of the match. So yeah, it was a bit of a weird one. I mean, it was annoying when the old it's happening again song started, and it's like get back in your box, you lot. But generally, not too disheartened. I mean, it is on the flip side, 5 games now without a win. If that gets into 6 and 7, then and you start looking over your shoulder, and that's going to be a bit worrying. But if we show the same sort of resolve in the next few games, I think we'll be all right.
Do you not find though that we're becoming very, very predictable?
Well, yes, there is an element of that, but I think basically, if we'd had a decent striker, we could have still won a load of these games, or drawn the games we've lost, won the games we drew.
But then Chris saying that, if they had a decent striker who didn't think he was in the film extras, Tora, they could have been 4 or 5 up.
Yeah,
he was all over the show, diving like a madman. So we can't keep saying we've got to keep the ball out of our net. That's where we are. It can't. I did the same thing. I came away as you were on Friday. Well, I would give it a go. But is that what we are now? We're just happy to give it a go. We're happy to lose as long as we try. Is that good enough? That's another London derby we've lost.
No, but losing whilst trying is an upgrade on what was happening previously.
Why can't we just beat? I know we beat Fulham.
Good.
But, I would rather play shite and it go off someone's hull in the last minute and have a derby win.
Hang on, what?
Don't worry. Backside. It goes off.
I see.
So
deflection.
I don't care as long as we can stop. We're losing too many London derbies, in my opinion. Our defending, if you're asking me, which you're not, but I'm going to tell you anyway. Our defending is abysmal at times.
Robinson was good though.
It doesn't. Yeah. You can't keep saying that. We're leaking way too many goals. Why do we have to go 2-0 down before we start playing bloody football? Why don't we try and score before we try and equalise?
Well, we did, but because we haven't got any decent strikers, we didn't put the ball in the net, basically. And
we haven't got any decent strikers,
well,
or we haven't got this game striker that we've been talking about.
Well, I shouted up Silla last week saying that he should be given a decent run in the side.
And you wanted Washington dropped. It's like
I did.
You've got a hotline to Ian Holloway.
But to be fair to Washington, I'm glad he got his goal. Hopefully that's given him a bit more confidence. Impact sub. He did all right. I think Silla did really well in the first half. Tailed off a bit You don't think so, no? No. Okay. Tailed off a bit in the second half, which maybe be expected because, he hasn't had many starts this season. But I personally would give Silla a run and pair him with either Mackay or Washington.
Okay.
Oliver?
Yeah. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, I just think it's funny, like, you talk about kind of maybe we're too predictable or we're too kind of consistent, but then the problem last season, at the end of the season, was complete inconsistency in the squad and the form. Well, the form was consistently bad, but the inconsistency in the team and the formation was so hard to keep up with. So at least now, the midfield three are good. They're always going to play together, and then it's just trying to work the other bits out. So at least that's, it sounds like an odd thing to say, but something's working. Like the goalkeeper's working, the midfield's working. It's just like, we can say the strikers can't score goals, but they never get chances. I think we just don't create very much.
When you listened to the analysis back on the TV of the pundits, I can't remember who they had in now. They had the fellow who used to play for Blackburn, and who did they have? Keith Andrews and someone else, and Tommy Smith. They said that the problem, their analysis was not the strikers, but the service to the strikers, that they were feeding on scraps and that they didn't have very much to work on.
Right. At one point of the game, sorry, I just point, Dave, that's rude. I mean to point. We had Silla, who Chris thought was a good game. That's fair enough. I thought he went down too easily. I thought that he was pushed off the ball too easily. Mm-hmm. I don't think he challenged the defenders enough. I don't think he stuck to a plan where you'd like to see a striker playing through the middle most of the time. He was everyone was out in the wing sometime, and no one in the middle. I'm thinking, I'm no Sherlock Holmes of tactics, but I'm pretty sure if you pass the ball now, lads, it's going to go straight to their keeper, and that annoys me. We're not great. Freeman was getting frustrated, as he did at Barnsley, fun enough, where he's making these runs, and Skulls win it. Freeman's making the runs. He's looking for the next player. Come on, who's going to run onto it? It's not happening. They're all stuck in the corner. And then playing tippy-tappy in front of the goal. Just whack. I mean, there's a great example of confidence when Bidwell should have scored. Yeah. He should have just willied that, put his laces through it, put it in. But he thought too hard. So what is going on? Are we not scoring enough goals? Are we low in confidence? Because we're at a crisis, not a crisis point, but like you said, this is 5 games. If we don't start, we've got Sunderland and Bolton. If we don't start picking up points soon, we've actually got less points than we had last season. We haven't won away since February.
No, your first game in a while. What did you make of it?
Just taking up the point on Silla, I think that it's important that he gets a run in the side. Get that guy 6 to 8 games in the side. He looked to me like the target man, certainly in the first half. He took an awful lot on his chest and kept him controllable on his chest and started bringing the players around him, I thought. That seemed to be what the plan was when Matt Smith came on later on. But that didn't work anywhere near as well as I thought it did with Silla in the first half. I just think he needs a run. He reminds me a little bit of Cisse from a few years ago. He just looks like a bloke that if you get him in front of goal enough, he will finish.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's pretty much what I was saying last week, and I'm the same as you. I think he held the ball up really well. I thought he brought others into it. I didn't think he had a bad game at all first half, but yeah, we do see things differently, and that's fair enough. But I think, I think he's probably a confidence player, and if he gets a decent run in the side, if he's starting every game, if he knows if Holloway says, right, you're going to be starting the next 3 or 4, I think that will give him a bit of lift. Yes, he can be a bit lazy, he can be a bit moody sometimes. I think that comes from just him looking at the stats. I got 1 in 3 last season. These other guys got nowhere near, and yet I'm nowhere near the first team.
But then you could argue the other side of that: make space, make runs. Mm-hmm. There's a bit where the Fulham player tackled him, and he went down like he'd been shot.
Well, he has got a tendency to do that. I agree. But then
and he also likes to try and be a physio as well. Which he's making sure everyone else is all right, going around the pitch, are you all right? Is there a bit of cramp there? I know what that's like. I'll sort you out, real mucker.
Really?
He does try and be a wee bit of a physio. And he's probably a very nice human being, and maybe that's his problem. But him and Smith need to start knocking the shit out of defenders. And Washington to a certain degree. We're too nice up top. We're way too nice. We need to be smashing the hell out of players. If we want to win games, we've got to shed blood. We've got to leave our soul in that pitch. We've got to stop because they look good at the end of the match. And I will say,
Sergio Aguero doesn't smash the hell out of players.
I think we've got to score goals.
Yeah, Fulham didn't do that. Fulham went aggressive.
Yeah, but if you're at home in a derby, you're losing. You've got to start smashing players. You've got to start with.
Why?
Because if you're going to play the long ball tactics that we're doing, you talk about Aguero. How many long balls does Aguero get? Well, we're playing to Matt Smith. We're playing long balls, and he's just trying to hit it. He's not being nasty enough. You need if you're going to play them tactics,
Well, that's
you've got
Matt
to play.
Smith, but if we're playing with Silla, then surely the idea is not to play.
We're still playing long balls.
I know we are, but we're playing less. When Matt Smith comes on, it is long ball, long ball, long ball. And I mean, okay.
How many one-on-ones on Friday did we have with the goalkeeper?
I don't know. Tell me.
Freeman's one at the end was kind of like a one-on-one.
Yeah.
Freeman had the one corner of the box.
Tell you what, though, if only our goalie could head the ball.
Well, this is it. If he
Did you just say goalie?
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
We call it keeper. I call him.
What's wrong with... Okay, great. Well done, I'm pleased for you. What's wrong with saying goalie?
I called it goalie at school, but I think keeper is more... I don't know. I think either or, really.
There are
Nothing wrong.
some terms I object to. I don't like people calling football footy. That's a no-no.
But you
But people who don't like football
when you
call
play
it footy.
five-a-side, you don't have rush keeper, you have rush goalie.
Yeah, goalie's all right.
Yeah, whatever. Anyway, I just want to pick on you, you're picking on me.
But,
If only Alex Smithies could hit the ball.
yeah.
Let's go with that, shall we?
To be honest though, that was
Thanks, Noel.
that was
Glad you came all the way.
that last 10 minutes really frustrated the hell out of me and my daughter, because if we'd have played like that all match, and we did start off well, we would have battered them.
Yeah.
But it's just that, both goals. I wasn't too bad until I went home and watched it on TV, and I thought, Jesus.
But the Robinson deflection was unlucky.
It was unlucky. Well, Bidwell was.
So you take those two
No,
moments.
the deflection was unlucky, but what Bidwell was doing before that was insane. To lose it in that way that we did, and the play just little stupid things that just annoy me. Like if in doubt, smash the bloody thing out. Mistakes are killing us. Once we get rid of the mistakes, once we start scoring goals, we could be bloody Brazil.
But what I would say with that, and if you are taking more shots, then you are going to get the luck, and one is going to go off someone's knee, which it did. Where they seem to be having, certainly in the first half, more efforts than we did on goal. I mean, but they were just. Their number 9 was. I mean, he wasted so many chances. In Ojo, is it the other guy went off injured as well?
Well, Noel made a great point. Was it Noel or was it you? He said
Would have been me.
it would be you. He threw himself.
I think it was me.
What do you say? He threw himself so hard on the floor he busted his shoulder.
Yeah, I just read that on Lot of Words, and
Brilliant.
whether it's true or not, who cares? But I really hope it's true. If that's a dislocated shoulder because he's thrown himself on the floor, please God, let that be true.
Maybe I'm just I don't mean to moan, and maybe I am too much. I'm just sick of losing London matches. Brentford came and dicked us. Fulham have dicked us. I went to Brentford last year and we got done again. I'm just sick of losing.
The Brentford thing is slightly different because we sort of played the stiffs, didn't we? I suppose. Okay, we played some.
Well, not their gaff at the end of last season.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah,
we're losing too many London.
But
derbies.
I think what's different about this season is though it doesn't look. We're not rolling over. Even when we went 2-0 down, I didn't think we were totally. There's a load of people left around me, but I thought no, we've still got a chance with this. Whereas this last season, especially under Hasselback, I thought, well, that's it.
Then concede after the penalty miss was insane.
But the whole thing with that penalty, though, I mean, Lynch, okay, I know he's coming back from injury, he's probably not match fit, but to give the penalty away was bad enough, even though it was a dive, really. But to then, 90 seconds later, just get totally done all over and give away the second goal was just unforgivable, really. And it's weird that Jack Robinson, of the players fit at the moment, is our best central defender, and he's not actually a central defender, which is quite concerning.
Okay. Oliver, I'll ask you this first. I'll put you really on the spot in your first podcast. Is the tide starting to turn against Ian Holloway?
Actually, like Chris said there, I was surprised at people leaving the ground. We went 2-0 down, and a lot of the people around me left. And I just thought, I did fancy we'd score one. But I'd been to the Burton game earlier in the week, and I just wanted to see a goal, so I was going to hang around no matter what. So I just thought there was no chance of a goal happening against Burton.
Could
but
be
I thought,
explained that Oliver just moved over from Ireland.
Okay.
So
yeah,
why does that have to be
he's
explained?
only seen 2 games so far this season.
Oh, this wasn't televised. Whatever televised ones are.
Okay.
No, I'm not saying, hey, we've got a live one here from back home. I'm just saying that's he hasn't seen a goal at home.
He's thinking I should be more disappointed maybe. But I suppose I had that conversation as well. That when you come over from abroad and you haven't seen many games, you're actually just excited to be there. But then I was thinking during the game, I was like, maybe if you'd seen this week in, week out, this kind of we're nearly good enough, but not quite good enough, then maybe you'd be more frustrated. But the way the team are playing, I was just happy after maybe I saw all of the Premier League seasons on TV in Australia to get them all on TV.
absolutely.
So what is it? Kind of maybe at that time I was thinking I saw every game, we weren't trying, and that was the hardest thing to take, was not trying. But now they're trying, so what's it?
Well, it is. We've only lost one game by more than the odd goal this season. That was against Norwich. We've put up an effort in every game. We've also only won one by more than one, which I think was Reading. So it's a bit better than this time last season when we get beat 6-0 at home by Newcastle. No, I know it's not, but I don't know. I do agree with you in some ways, and I do think we're sort of victims of our own start, because once you start well, like last season, you sort of start to get a bit carried away. And of course, as any fan, you'll say, I'll take 20th. But really, if you start winning, then you're looking at the playoffs and you're looking to live the dream.
But then that goes back to what I said a few weeks ago. Have we set our expectations so low that we'll take a corner, we'll take a free kick, we'll take a chance, because we're not expecting anything in a league which, quite frankly, again, is a wee bit crap.
Yeah.
If we, this league isn't... I went to Middlesbrough, I went to Cardiff, and I didn't see anything they had that was, rocket science where football is concerned, of thinking, God, like the year we won the league, we were special. We were much better than teams we played. I haven't seen anyone yet we haven't yet to play Wolves and everything else, but who I think, I can see why they're top of the league. I can see why they're doing things right. I can see where they're going with this. And it's still niggling me that if we just had that wee bit of extra... It's not luck, because you make your own luck in football. Just stop changing the team. If you're going to play Silla... If you're going to play Silla, like Noel and Chris have said, and I do agree with them, give him 6 or 7 games. Don't bring Samuel on for 45 minutes against Burton and 45 against Barnsley and then not play him again. He's a youngster. That's dangerous to confidence. Give him a run in the team. We badly need pace. I mean, Pavel I really like, but he's like a robot like Bidwell in some ways. He will just run in a straight line and run back in a straight line. Run up, run down, run up, run down. Whereas when Wheeler came on, he really shook things up. And I'm thinking, you know what? Play him up front. Give him a go up front. He will create space. He will take defenders on. Do something different. Stop being so bloody predictable.
Well, I think Pav's a decent player. I think he's maybe just going through a little rut at the moment where he's not quite as good as he was last season. But I find it strange that he was taken off for Smith. I'm not saying he had a great game, Pav, but as soon as Smith went off... as soon as Pav went off and Smith came on, we just lost any width we had.
He did look knackered.
Really
I was actually on that side of the ground.
And Mackey's not a natural winger. And I think, I like Mackey, but I think that was maybe the time to take Mackey off instead. Keep that width there. Or if you're concerned about Pav, then bring Bright on or bring Wheeler on, just because we immediately lost that and got squeezed so tight.
What's the point of bringing on a 6 foot... a 6 foot plenty centre forward and then taking off the winger who's supplying?
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, if it feels like some knives, I won't say the knives, some knives are out on social media, online.
Yeah, well done for not answering that, Oliver. That was
Holloway.
like a politician. That was like a politician.
You honestly did not answer the question whatsoever.
I want to back him completely. So what is it? I'm 100% behind him. But
are they fair to be out, or is it just people have not really got much else to talk about?
I think if you look at Ian's stats, they're pretty dreadful.
I have the stats in front of me.
Okay, go on then.
Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank, 43 games, 54 points. Ian Holloway, 41 games, 46 points. So arguably pretty much the same. And Chris Ramsey before him was 32 games, 32 points. They're courtesy of my brother Ben, so if they're wrong, blame him. But it's kind of par for the course.
Can I just check something though? Okay, the stats say what they say. Are you enjoying the football?
Well, this is the other point. What the stats don't tell you is whether you're enjoying the performance, which I think generally the enjoyment level has gone up. There does seem to be my view is there's some kind of positive movement towards improvement.
Friday night was great. I loved it. I mean, I know I've come in after 2 years being here last time, but the last game I saw was Nottingham Forest at home when we lost 2-1. Rob Green got sent off. And it was like watching paint dry. It was dreadful. Okay,
Chris, you said came out Friday night, quite upbeat, enjoyed it, having lost. No, you said the same thing. Yeah. Take out the Man City 3-2 game in the Premier League that time against 9 men, which was a game we lost but was fun and enjoyable. When else before this season have you come out of defeats thinking, well, we lost, but it was very positive?
I think that's more the expectations, though.
Liverpool 3-2.
We beat them.
No, but there was the other 3-2, wasn't there?
What?
Was it 3-2?
Oh, was that when Vargas scored twice?
It's when they got a goal in the last minute.
Colker made a mess of something.
They're few and far between, though, aren't they?
But we're playing Fulham. It's not Real Madrid. You know, at the end of the day, Burton beat Fulham. You know, and
Let me give you another stat. Jim Floyd Hasselbank was sacked on the 5th of November 2016. Chris Ramsey was sacked on the 4th of November 2015. We're playing Notts Forest away on the 4th of November 2017.
There's some stat about Nottingham Forest that doesn't quite come to mind.
Yeah.
That even when we won leagues, we had the best team in the country, didn't win the actual top prize, and won European football, we still have never won at Nottingham Forest. So, and
then we got Bolton and Sunderland in between there.
Listen,
haven't we?
Clive called it right last season. It's not often I agree with Clive because I like a wee bit of rivalry amongst the websites. But he was right. If you're going to get rid of Ian, you had to do it before the season started. You can't give a manager a pre-season and then get rid halfway through. You can't keep going on that roundabout and chucking someone off in November, December time. They should stick with the manager and the board maybe, and those like the Les, the board, and then maybe others should take responsibility for what's going wrong as well as the manager.
I don't think anyone sitting here is saying that we need to get rid of him. But no win in 5. We don't beat Bolton. We don't beat Sunderland. We're not going to win away at Notts Forest. Then all of a sudden, that's no win in 8. And will they start to lose their bottle again?
Of course. I don't know if the club will do.
The club will do that. Of that, you can be certain because
it's
they've got form. They always lose their bottle when they need to stand by the manager.
But then, Chris, is that a case of when Tony Fernandes walks down the pitch, puts his arm around Ian, puts a picture up on Twitter, we've got the best manager in the league, do you start looking for another job?
Yeah.
The vote of faith.
Yeah.
Well, there was a question posed earlier, wasn't there, on Twitter about Les Ferdinand saying...
Yeah. I've seen that.
Yeah, so there was a few comments saying that actually this appointment has to work out because it's a Les Ferdinand appointment, and if it doesn't, then that's the 3rd successive appointment for
Les
Ferdinand.
Is this a Les Ferdinand appointment, though? I mean, this seems more like a Tony Fernandes appointment to me, the way that Tony was tweeting and saying Ian's going to bring the good times back. Tony was sick and tired of getting the grief on Twitter about the badge, about everything else, and it reeks to me...
you're giving them too much credit. I think this was a shrug of the shoulders... We've run out of ideas, lads. Appointment, wasn't it? Which I like him. I like Holloway.
He's right. This was totally a Fernandes appointment. Totally down to Tony.
I couldn't see how Ferdinand. It just seemed like a real left field appointment for Ferdinand to make, given the last 2 managers he had, who I know didn't work out.
The two who were swimming in the sea to get the job.
He wanted Rowett, didn't he?
Chris Powell, which is fair enough in some respects. Chris has never been in a club where he's been able to prove himself properly because he's always been a club that had to sell, blah, blah. And the other one was the Bristol City manager that got sacked, who was at Portsmouth, whose name's now gone out of my head.
Not
Steve
Cottrell.
He was a coach for us for a while.
Yeah.
He was the other one that was
He's
mentioned.
just gone somewhere this week.
Birmingham.
Yeah.
Don't rate him.
Not at all.
I mean, maybe 10 years ago he did all right, but not now.
He's an interesting character. So it was. This is a Tony Fernandes appointment, and I don't think Les had that much input in this one. Which again, but why do we need so many people in top roles at QPR when surely if you have a
what
manager,
do you mean, like who?
Well, it's kind of like we seem to have a lot of chefs, and then when the ingredients goes wrong, no one wants to take the blame for it because you say, well, it's not me.
But who are you
Les.
talking about?
Well, you got Les, you got Lee Hughes, you've got.
Well, you need Lee Hughes. He runs the club from the business side.
The point, yeah, but then
I don't think we have that many appointments though.
Well, you do. You've got the technical director and Chris Ramsey. You've got Lee Hughes.
Yeah, but they're just fancy names for what they used to call coaches.
All right, so who's buying the players then? Is it Les? Is it
who's
Penrose?
buying the players?
Getting the players, scouting them, bringing them in. Is it Les? Because you'd like to think a manager would say, I like the look of this geezer, so-and-so, I want to sign him. Or they go, no, we'll go and sign someone similar who's playing here. So you want the manager's choice because surely he will know the players best. And that person is Gary Penrice working for Ian Holloway or is Gary Penrice working for Les Ferdinand?
I'm not sure we have too many people there because to run a football club, it sounds like a sort of normal amount. But what you do have is they all know each other. They're all mates, aren't they?
Who was the director?
Ferdinand played with Holloway. Holloway played with Penrice. Holloway managed Bircham. They're all, I suppose, in one sense, they all know each other,
Who
so
was
they get
Warnock's
along.
director of football?
Well, but he was an old school manager. But you're just talking about one additional appointment, aren't you?
But wasn't the whole idea?
Warnock had a coach, didn't he? He had 2 assistant managers, the same as Holloway did. He had Mick Jones and Keith Curle, didn't he? He just didn't have someone above him.
Yeah, but one thing Warnock did do was he won promotion.
But the club was a mess then. I think it's just Warnock's a really good manager and he can probably get the best out of any situation.
But your point is that there's an excessive amount of people at the club, but I don't see that.
My point is someone needs to take responsibility. We don't know who brings the players in because you say it's Les and Les says actually maybe I get some. We've now brought Guy Penrice in for this. Then you got Chris Ramsey.
He's a scout. He's the chief scout.
Yeah,
Every club has a chief scout.
Yeah, okay. So then you've got the structures where I worry because then you've got the manager, Les, who signed Yanni, who signed Silla, who signed, but then you've got Freeman, you've got Skull. You know, it seems to be there's a real mix of players coming in.
Isn't Les the one who will say, actually, you can't have him because he wants 30 grand a week? Isn't he just? I mean,
well, no, because then you wouldn't have signed Silla or Yanni.
Isn't it a committee that? Yeah, but they're not on 30 grand a week, are they?
Carry on.
Okay, you reckon
the transfer fee was big. I don't think they're on big wages.
Okay, I would hope they're not.
Chris, what else you got on your notes? How long, yeah, we've gone for quite a long time, so we're going to have to do ours end in a minute. But what else have we missed out on talking about?
Well, one thing I thought that Fulham attacked with more pace than we did. I thought we were a bit too ponderous in getting things going at times. I think again, Fulham have been together for quite a while. They're getting players back from injuries, and really on the basis of last season, hate to say it, but they're probably a better team than us at the moment. I think the midfield three were great as well. I know there was a thing on Lawful Words about what you could call them, you know, because there's Scawongo, I think, was one of them. But I was thinking of this will apply to older Punk fans only, but because Messi, Suarez and Neymar are MSN, Scowen, Luongo and Freeman SLF. Maybe that's what we should call them.
That's the little fingers.
Yeah. But David's completely drawing a blank
Belfast
there.
Yeah.
Very good Belfast band as well. One of my favourite bands of all time. You're on your phone. Who are you texting?
No. I was looking up some stuff.
Okay. Well, the other thing
on Twitter.
Just in terms of the pace that Fulham showed, I think we probably played into their hands a little bit there because we were pressing, playing really high up the pitch. Now, with Anua, he's got some pace. You could probably do that. He might be able to compensate. But the guys that were there, as soon as anything went over the top or behind the centre halves.
Yeah, no, that's a good shout.
Ojo, I think that was the fellow who fell over when the wind blew. But fast.
Yeah, he had pace to burn, didn't he? Yeah. Well, the other thing I was going to say that I've got written down is a Clive stat actually from Lawful Words. It was in his fantastic match report as ever. He said only one team has had more than QPR's 87 shots on goal at home. 2 more sides better than 35 shots on target. Only 3 have had more than our 138 touches in the opposition box, and no other team has registered as many as Rangers' 110 crosses. QPR average 60.78% possession in their home games this season, the second best in the league. So make of that what you will. The crosses thing's interesting. 110 crosses. More
just
than,
tells
more
me
than
there's no one
else.
to put it in the back of the net.
Well, that's what I was trying to say before. I mean, I think they're not all good crosses, but I think what we're lacking is
a finisher.
That's
what every club in the league wants.
Yeah, of course.
Don't you?
And going back to the Warnock point, he was blessed with having Adel Tarabd in the side, who yes, he did manage very well, but he did score 19 goals from midfield, and we haven't got a striker looking like getting anywhere near that this season. So it's not the whole answer to the problem. I think defensively we're a bit short, particularly at the moment. The midfield is great, but up front we're just lacking someone to finish it off.
What mistakes do you think we made in player recruitment then? Because I get from what you're saying that we're too short in too many areas. Well,
centre back, arguably. I mean, the fact that we were going to try and bring Clint Hill on a deal, as much as I'd like to have seen him here, because I think he'd have been great, especially in the dressing room. But yeah, you could definitely argue that, and yeah, a centre forward, but
I agree.
centre forwards.
Paul, that joke doesn't carry.
Centre forwards again. Villa spent 15 million on somebody. I mean, the fact of the matter is we're cutting our cloth accordingly. We can't afford to go and buy a centre forward who's on 30 grand a week.
Sorry, so do we go back to the conversation I've heard a couple of times on the podcast about coaching the players that we've got to improve them? So this is where it comes to what we were talking about earlier on.
Well researched.
And, again, we go back to Silla. Give him a run. I mean, you can't just drop him in, take him out, and expect him to develop a game that's going to be sharp, score lots of goals. Leave him in there. Find out what he can really do.
But Chris, you say that, right? Go and tell Barnsley that we've got a small budget and they will laugh at us. Go and tell Burton we've got a small budget and laugh at us. We spent nearly 3 million on Washington. We spend 1.5, 1.6.
But we don't want to compete with Barnsley and Burton, Paul. Do we? So why?
Because they begin with B.
No, we want to compete with the teams that
but what I'm
are
saying is,
obviously going to be in the top five places in the league.
I sound like
I'm
I'm moaning tonight, and I probably am. But what I'm saying is, the small budget, yes, but this is a new thing. You've still got Colker on massive wages. Anu is pretty well paid. There's still a lot of players in that squad who are pretty well paid.
Well, Anu can't play at the moment, can he? However much he's paid.
Well, no, I know, but I'm just saying that there's a feeling that the fans just come on and made a big
Chris, give me your views on our squad size. I've nicked your notes and I'm talking through them.
Well,
I believe I'm just from memory. Our squad size is 33 and Fulham's was 23.
Yeah, and that's what strikes me. Yeah, every time you look at the programme, our squad goes on for about another foot further down the page than everybody else's, and I just wonder, why do we need all of these players? And again, if we'd maybe got rid of some, I know some are out on loan. But, yeah, I just think it's too overblown, that squad. And when you've got that many people, then the tendency is to start rotating and throwing players in like he did last season.
Going back to scouting and money, we spent 500,000 on Goss at Man U, and he hasn't featured at all. So that's a lot of money for a championship side to disregard somebody. In my opinion. Sorry, I got thrown because Chris decided it wouldn't be able to turn into Father Christmas.
Sorry.
So do you know what I mean? We are still spending money. We have still spent money. But Washington, we all want to come good. And hopefully he will at some point. But I think the clock's clicking on him. For the fans ticking, and the fans, because it's now or never. And I think he just needs, like Silla, but perhaps let's play two up front, let's play two, keep them in the middle, stop trying to get someone going wide all the time. I mean, you had Smith wide, Silla wide, Mackay was wide all the time. Just bring people in the middle and smash the ball in, because the Championship isn't the best league in the world for defenders. So you've got nothing to lose by going gung-ho sometimes, which is what Fulham did against us. They just went gung-ho. Their defence wasn't actually that good. We just didn't test it enough.
I mean, I think 3 million on Washington. When you look that we sold Charlie Austin for 4 million. Okay,
that's not his fault.
No, I know that. But it's just looking like. I mean, you spend 3 million on a striker at this level in the hope that he's going to get a few goals. And I do like Washington. I think he's a decent player, but he hasn't scored that many goals, and he wasn't that prolific at Peterborough. To be honest, he had one. He had one sort of purple patch where he scored, 7 or 8 goals in 10 games or something. And I got a Peterborough mate, and he said they were laughing all the way at bank to get 3 million for him. And that's, I don't want to slag him off, but I'm just saying, maybe we could have got him for a bit less, or maybe I don't know.
Isn't like one of the realities of the club at the moment that we have to be in the market for a lower standard of player naturally? Like, we have to bring players up from lower leagues. We can't sign the finished product anyway, so with all these players, they're probably not going to arrive and first season hit 20 goals, or it's going to be a work in progress all the time.
I suppose the argument with Washington is that he's been given the time to find his feet, and now is really the season that he has to deliver.
On the other side of the coin, I watched Sheffield Wednesday play the other day, and they had Fletcher, Hooper and Rhodes. I mean, Jesus. In Championship level, that's Real Madrid. So who knows? We need someone to come through. We're talking about Les. We need a young Les. We need a Bannister. We need a Penrice. We need someone who knows where the net is, who can finish. Because if we start getting that, start winning games, everyone's game will improve. The midfield's fine. We start winning games. We keep the ball at the other side. trust me, the confidence will grow. We're just losing our confidence because our heads are going down sometimes.
If you think back, though, Les failed at first.
Yeah, he went to Turkey for a
He went
while.
off to Turkey, so he was in exactly the same position as we're talking about Washington now. Well, maybe not, and I appreciate he came from non-league, so the expectation and the money spent on Washington, he didn't carry that, but he failed to start with, and he was
Massively failed as well.
Yeah. So off he went to Turkey, and he came back in a new man, whatever it was that turned him round.
I think it was a Chelsea match that turned him around, where he scored them goals against Chelsea. He then, the whole career starts. And maybe that's what it is with strikers. Something happens, something clicks at a moment, and their career is changed. I remember John Spencer signed from them lot, and he's banged in 23 and 25 games, whatever. Then Everton started sniffing around, it all went pear-shaped. Goals breeds confidence, and if you don't score the goals, everyone's confidence suffers.
But I think if Silla is given a run, I could be proved wrong here, but I think he is the most likely of the lot.
Yes.
we've got
So?
who's
Best
gonna go
finisher.
on a run.
Best
Yeah.
finisher. Ours end. So this is the last part of the podcast. Anything else that we haven't discussed that you'd like
I've
to
got
add?
loads. But I
Go
won't
on,
mention
Paul.
it yet.
No, go first.
No, I don't like going
I
first.
want to see you go first. Come on. This to make bad podcasting if you refuse. Don't be impolite.
Go
on.
I'm
Go
always
on.
impolite. That
Go
sounds
on.
a bit weird.
Go on.
All right. First of all, I'd like to thank you, which is unusual.
Me?
Yeah, I'll never do this ever again in my life. In
Okay.
fact, I'm going to wash my mouth out because Sunderland, train ticket. Thanks
Oh,
to
I
you.
saw you. I
Yeah,
connected you with a train
So
ticket.
thank you
yeah.
for Tim Powell of Sly for selling me your train ticket to Sunderland, so I can now go and moan on the next podcast about the game. Thank
Okay.
you. Second, I'm off to Norway on
No
Sunday.
way.
For our two guests, did you not find that a bit weird?
I've got no idea what you're talking about.
Do it again. Do it again. Say it
I'm
again.
going to Norway on Sunday.
No way.
Yeah, that's a bit weird, isn't it? It is, isn't it? Okay. But it's like Morecambe and Wise and acid, isn't it?
For those of us who haven't been paying attention much to your qualifying campaign, give us just the summary.
We're going to the World Cup, perhaps.
What have you got to get, like a point or something?
No, we're qualified for the playoffs. We just got Norway.
But what have you got to do? Is it? It's not possible, is it, to get the?
They got to beat Germany
to win
so
the.
basically no.
And how's your campaign going, young man?
Not great, not great.
Thank
Very
you.
good.
So I go to Norway, but I've heard a horrible rumour. I don't know how true this is, and I need someone to confirm this by Sunday. They don't sell alcohol in Norway on a Sunday. This
Really?
has got to be nonsense. That's what I'm hearing. That's what I'm hearing.
No way.
You've got to stop that now, all right? Seriously. So I'm going with a QPR fan, meet up with other QPR fans, and I'm getting my QPR St Patrick's flag done before the game as well. So if you see a St Patrick's flag with the QPR badge in the middle, that is I, with a little Martin O'Neill lookalike behind it. That'll be me. The other thing is, we're all very, very keen, and I've done tonight, to slag the club off some way because of things, but I was very, very teared up when I saw the Tiger Club special on Sky Sports last week. And, despite what we say, what a job them guys are doing in the community department and the club. Everything off the pitch is absolutely superb, and well done for getting them kids on national TV, getting them the exposure they deserved, and so proud that our club are doing things like that, and we're making disability something that people forget about, and I just see kids in QPR shirts. Well done, Rangers. Proud of you.
Who's next? Go on, Oliver.
Oh, another thing.
No.
Take off.
Everyone wants it to be me.
He'll still have the last word. Yeah.
We'll come back to Paul after me. Maybe you want to go again.
Well, it'll go in between you and then before me, and then. Yeah.
This sounds really wrong.
Don't flatter yourself.
Oliver.
I'll jump in if that's all right.
Yeah,
Go
go,
on.
please.
I just want to give a slightly different perspective because, I come here every couple of years and I don't get the chance to go along to the games like you guys every week. Friday night, even though we lost, I just absolutely loved being at Loftus Road again. There's nothing like walking up the stairs. I walked up the stairs in the R block, and especially under the lights, you see the green swathe of the pitch. That feeling came back. It was like it was, 15, 16 again. So it was just great being there. And the noise out of the R block, the Q block, the P block, all that sort of stuff, you don't just hear it, you feel it through your body as well. So to me, it felt like the place was rocking. I'm not sure if you see that sort of atmosphere every week. I don't know if it was good or bad, but I enjoyed it. It was really, really good. So it was great being back. The other thing I wanted to do while I was here was to say thank you to you guys.
Oh, stop it.
Maybe not you so much, to be honest. But you know, for all of the expats, you know, this is our connection to not the club but the fans. We get to find out what people are thinking and feeling, and you know, we don't get the chance to have these conversations with people in Australia or America, etc., because we're so, you know, far flung. But listening into this, it's almost like, you know, being in a pub in the Uxbridge Road and listening to conversations in a bar and stuff like that. So I just want to say thanks to you lot.
Thank you, Noel.
Thanks, mate.
I feel a bit weird now.
Very good.
Can I just say one
No.
thing?
Oliver.
I forgot one thing.
Oliver.
One thing before Oliver
He's got
goes.
something really important.
Told you this
No,
would happen, didn't I?
exactly. One thing before he goes. Got to sort out the lower loft.
Yeah, thanks. That was going to be mine.
Yeah.
Carry on.
That'll be Chris's. Go on then, Chris. You jump in.
We've got to sort out the lower loft.
Let's pull out Finney's mic.
Okay.
Right.
No, well, Finney will have another say on this, I'm sure. But I agree with you. I mean, I sit in the lower loft. I had my daughter with me on Friday because it wasn't a school night. But yeah, right in front of me, there's swathes of empty seats. I mean, they even had like the QPR youth team, using up some of them. And I've said this, I think, probably for the last 2 years. I know, you know, everyone's saying just move the lower loft, but you can't just move the lower loft mid-season. A few people now have been there for quite a while. Okay, there's an argument as to whether it should ever have been the family stand. Maybe it shouldn't have done, but it is now, so we're stuck with it for the time being. But night games, is there some way you can text all season ticket holders a week or two before to find out how many seats are going to be empty, and then sell their seats at a knockdown price? Say for Fulham or a bigger game, it's maybe 20 quid. For other games, a tenner, and then give the season ticket holder half of that money in credit for the club shop, so the club don't actually lose money.
Ticket next season.
Yeah, or off the season ticket next season. There's got to be a way to do that, because we all received the text saying this is happening at Loftus Road. And also, don't make it just kids on a Friday or a Tuesday night, because half the kids don't turn up anyway, which is why there's empty seats. So that would be my solution. But yeah.
Is there any way that you could tie that into the Twickets website? Because that's how there was a season ticket holder who wasn't going, put his season ticket up on the Twickets website. That's the one I bought.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
value. I filled that gap, and that was in the R block. But I'm sure it'd work in.
But that happens. But I think a lot of people with the kids, or you know, who can't make, just don't think about this thing. Oh, we can't make it. We'll watch it on the telly. Don't think about it. If there was some sort of, if they had a reminder, an incentive, like a week before, are you going Tuesday? Other people need your tickets. If so, let us know. We'll sell them, and we'll give you half of what we get, and you can spend that in the club shop next time. Or as Paul said, get it off your season ticket.
How about it? Just doing it. I know Brentford do it, not unplugging Brentford, but I know Brentford do a thing where if you don't make a game and they can sell the ticket, it comes off your ticket for next season. But perhaps with the family stand on Saturdays as a family stand, on night games it's mixed, because it looks bloody awful.
No,
TV.
I agree.
And there was no noise, and we're losing. The only noise coming a lot of time was from them gobshites down the other end, and we've got to cancel that out. We're doing our best, but you can't do it when people are on iPads behind the goal.
Oliver,
It's come around.
rescue us from Finney.
That's a big ask.
No, is it harsh?
I liked his arse.
Is
That
it
was
harsh?
nice. We got thanked. No one's
Oliver, you get the final word on the
I
podcast.
suppose what I wanted to say was a shout out to my dad, Andrew, who's probably going to listen to this in Sydney.
Hello, Andrew,
in a
in
day's
Sydney.
time. So he's been listening for ages. I mean, I used to listen to this when I was in Australia too, like Noel. So yeah, it is kind of a connection to the ground and the fans. And
podcast world tour coming up.
It's very nice of you
there you
to
go.
say. Very nice.
International
The door's always
podcast.
open in Australia. Absolutely.
Thanks, mate, and thanks for both coming on. You've both been great.
Thank
so.
you.
To be
Right.
honest with you, no one's ever. Sorry, Dave, but no one's
Told
ever.
you to have the last word.
God's
Thank
sake.
you for thanking us. No one's ever come to this podcast to thank us. And we're available for bar mitzvahs, weddings, and trips abroad. If anyone wants to hire us, we're there. Dubai, Dublin, Belfast, Brisbane, Sydney, New
Right.
York. David Fraser.
Right,
Hotmail.
we finish off by talking about the weekend. How will we get on Saturday?
Next Saturday, you mean?
I don't know
Yeah,
about you, lad.
We won't lose.
yeah.
You're going to Oslo. Enjoy yourself in Oslo, Paul. Thank you guys for coming on. We are back in 2 weeks. No podcast next week for international break. We'll be back after then. This has been Open All Ours. Thank you.
Do you know what I forgot to say?
Oh, God.
There's more.
UPR, Fish Park Rangers.